Okay, welcome. And now we're going to get into some more techniques of integration. I think more techniques that are, more fun. So far we've done techniques involving U substitution to make things simpler. But U substitution doesn't work all of the time. Okay, so up to this point you should be very familiar with the basic integration problems. You should be able to integrate. We've done a lot of derivations of taking derivatives of different functions, integrating different functions. So you should be very confident and competent in doing lots of integration of basic functions. Okay. We've also applied these in many different areas, from centers of mass to looking at compound interest, to finding volumes of solids, rates of flow. There are lots of different places where we deal with integration, okay? But sometimes it gets a little bit more complicated and we can't use substitution. For example, in this case here, this would be pretty straightforward. We do a U substitution for x squared, right? So we would say let u equal x squared, and then du would equal 2x dx. And of course we divide both sides by 2. And there's our substitution, and away we go. And then this would just become what? Sine u. And it would be easy to integrate. But then we run into something like this. And U substitution doesn't work. And so what do we do in that case? Well, prior to this chapter, prior to this topic, we wouldn't be able to do anything. We would be stuck. Okay? And so, or we would use a computer. Right? Well, we don't need to use a computer in cases like this. We're going to use a new technique called integration by parts. Okay? And so, how does it work? Well, a lot of students ask, is there a product rule for integration? And the answer is no, there isn't. But we can use the product rule to be able to give us something where we can exchange integrals and solve for many different complicated integrals that we may be asked to evaluate or solve. Okay, so let's start with an example. Let's say we have a function h of x, and we're going to say that h of x is equal to the product of f of x and g of x. So let's take the derivative of both sides. So that would mean that h of x, right, becomes h prime of x. And what happens here? We use the product rule for taking the derivative, right? So we take the derivative of the first times the second plus the first times the derivative of the second. So that would mean that we would have what? F prime of x times g of x plus f of x times g prime of x, right? So there's our product rule. Okay, so now let's take the integral of both sides. Now, this might seem counterintuitive, but watch. So if we integrate both sides, and so of course we get h of x here, which is equal to g of x, f of x, which is now equal to, we're going to distribute this, this is going to be the integral of f prime of x gx dx, oops, and plus the integral of f of x g prime of x dx. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to subtract off this piece here. Okay, so now I'm going to subtract off this piece here, and now what I get is I get this, right? So this is going to be the integral of f prime of x or hold on, I want to make sure I want to subtract the right one. Let's see. Let me rewrite this just to be consistent. So this is f of x times g of x. Okay. And oh, here. I'm going to subtract off this piece. So I'm going to get the integral of f of x g, oops, g prime of x dx equals, so it's going to be f of x times g of x minus the integral of f prime of x g of x dx. And so that is what we get for solving for the product rule. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to simplify this a little bit, okay, just to make it more compact. So let's let u equal f of x, let v equal g of x, and so of course du is going to equal f prime of x dx, and dv equals g prime of x dx. And so now the compact form of this becomes the integral of u dv equals u times v minus the integral of v du. And that is integration by parts. That's the formula we will use for integral by parts. So next I'm going to show you the theorem, and then we'll do some examples and show you how this will work, especially for like the example that I just gave you where we got stuck. See you next time.